Again, my name's Tom Rose. I'm the VP of Technical Solutions at Nasuni. We're talking about today how Nasuni can help you move your Windows file servers and network attached storage infrastructure to the cloud to reduce costs and really simplify IT's life. Nasuni stands for NAS Unified, so I thought I'd throw that up there just because a lot of folks don't know what Nasuni means. So hopefully it's going to be a lot clearer after this presentation. And as Sean said, we're an AWS partner, so I thought I'd kick things off by just talking quickly about our partnership. We're a member of the ISV Accelerate program. We've earned both the storage and digital workplace competencies. No small feats in either of those cases. We'll talk in a bit about how Nasuni really is a great fit to bring your enterprise file shares close to virtual desktops, and that's why we won the we were awarded digital workplace competency. I know a lot of government and education deploys virtual desktops, and now with Amazon Workspaces, it's even easier than ever before to deploy VDI in the cloud without any on-prem infrastructure. But of course, you have to connect virtual desktops still to file shares. So how do you make sure your file shares are close to those VDI instances? And Nasuni is great at that, as we'll see in a minute. Nasuni is also available through the AWS Marketplace. And I know my colleague from Haiku talked about customer satisfaction and NPI, and we also have a very, very high NPI score at Nasuni, and that's reflected in our over 120% net retention from our customers. So we offer file storage as a subscription service, and that 122% retention rate shows that our customers renew and they expand. So and they expand at a high clip. So that's the best proof point of our technology. And this is another good proof point. I know Decata Pharmaceuticals is not in government, but we talked about Nasuni being available through the marketplace and how convenient the marketplace is now to procure solutions with AWS. And Nasuni was the largest storage transaction through the AWS marketplace last year. And Decata Pharmaceuticals was that transaction. So we're very proud of that. It was actually recognized by Andy Jassy in a note to our company. And so it was a 3.3 petabyte usable file share data. So this shows a couple things. It shows that we're a very strong AWS partner. It also shows Nasuni is proven at tremendous scale. Decata had almost every different type of Windows file server, network attached storage device, backup product on the market. And they've consolidated all of that, or in the process of consolidating all of that to Nasuni, backed by Amazon S3 object storage. And I know Sean talked about the AWS storage portfolio with Amazon S3 being part of that. And that's really what Nasuni takes object storage and makes it a great fit for file storage. And we'll talk about how we do that in a second. So we're proud of Decata, but we also are proud of the government, education, and nonprofit customers who are moving to Nasuni in the cloud. And here's just a sample of some of those customers who are already making the leap and really simplifying their file servers and NAS and achieving capacity on demand, simplifying IT management, and also saving money. That's the big thing. That's the number one driver we see. And I often get asked the question, do we support GovCloud? The answer is yes. Montgomery County, Ohio is one of our customers who is running Nasuni, backed by AWS GovCloud and S3 object storage in GovCloud. So yes, that's supported, and we're in production already with customers there. So let's talk about what Nasuni does. So I think what all those customers I just showed and what Decata, they all have in common is they're all starting with on-prem file infrastructures that are very complex, hard to manage, expensive to maintain and build, and rack and stack and provision, and also constrained by the limits of on-prem resources. So if you're like most of the customers that we just showed, then you're starting with maybe a main data center, one or two, and having file servers and network attached storage islands or silos, in those data centers. And that's your primary storage. You also have to back up that primary storage in case the primary storage is attacked, malware, ransomware, which is of course increasing these days. And so that means having backup software, media servers, typically an on-site and an off-site copy. So you have to have hardware and media and off-site places to store that. And then if you've got multiple locations, you're doing this again in every location. So that means, every remote office is going to have its own file server or NAS silo. And you're going to have to back up that either locally, or you're going to drag it across the network back to your data center. And then you have to think about DR. What if these offices aren't available? How do I give my users access to file shares if the primary storage isn't available? If I have nothing to back it up or restore it to, what do they access? So that adds more cost and complexity. And then it gets really challenging when you have the same files that need to be shared across locations. And now you're dealing with, WAN connectivity, remote access, replicating the same data in multiple locations. And a lot of times we see end users take matters into their own hands, and they go out and they buy, they do the shadow IT thing, and they get, more of the, box and Dropbox and those kinds of solutions to help make file sharing easier. And again, this is a very difficult environment. This worked, for the last 30 years, given the pace with which unstructured data is now growing. This just can't keep pace anymore. So, Nasuni and AWS offer, a way to transform how your file storage is being deployed and managed today. So with Nasuni, it all starts with our platform is at the heart of our platform is our file system called UniFS. And so back when Nasuni first started, we built the first file system that's designed to live inside object storage. So traditionally, file systems have lived inside a device or a cluster, controllers. We built our file system to grow, reside, scale in object storage. And so this allows our file system really to grow without limits. And you can add capacity on demand just by turning up your Amazon S3 object storage subscription and adding, capacity to Nasuni, and you have instant capacity on demand. So all file data, all metadata, all environment state of the whole Nasuni platform is all stored in object storage. And that allows us to take advantage of the economics, the low cost of S3 object storage, the durability, the fact that S3 replicates, multiple copies of your data, either within the regions or across regions. So it really, gives us a lot of the benefits of object storage as a back end. And then the magic comes into, well, how do I give my users and applications high-speed access the way they're used to today with, Windows file servers or NAS boxes? And the way we do that is through what we call edge appliances or edge VMs. And these edge VMs are lightweight virtual machines that just cache copies of the frequently accessed files from S3. And these edge VMs look and act like a full-size Windows file server or network-attached storage device. They join your Active Directory domain. They present SMB and NFS file sharing protocols, interfaces, so your drive mappings all still work. Your scripts all still work. So again, they look just like a traditional full-size file server, but they're really just a window into that file system that's running in S3 object storage. It's all software, so it's all software defined. And so you can spin up as many of these edge VMs as you want. They can live on-prem and cache files from S3 on-prem, or they can live in the cloud. So we have a lot of customers now deploying edge VMs next to Amazon workspaces in the cloud in the AWS regions where their virtual desktops are, so that the file shares and the desktops are right next to each other, and there's no latency. So this is really the key, right? So you're not getting any latency because most of the I/O, in fact, 98.5% of the I/O across all of our customers is coming out of those edge VMs. So rarely do you have to go back to S3 to retrieve a file, and that means no latency, and it also means you're not paying egress fees. So if we size these edge VMs correctly, and usually we only need about 2% of the total back-end capacity locally on those edge VMs to provide 98.5% of the I/O. The other cool thing these edge VMs do is they're constantly watching and capturing changes as files are being made, changed or added. And every time a file is changed or added, based on a snapshot frequency that you set, we're capturing every change again as an immutable read-only object in S3 object storage. So you're basically getting an infinite version history of all changes being made in all locations, time-stamped and ordered sequentially in S3 object storage. So the need for traditional backup for files goes away. You don't need it anymore because now we're constantly capturing every change forever. And that gives you more restore points and instant recovery because you can say at any point in time, I want to be able to roll back to last Friday at 3 p.m. right before that ransomware hit at 3:05 and I can roll back an individual file, an entire share, or an entire volume back to that minute before the ransomware struck. So again, it's that power of S3 as the back end, combined with the Nasuni platform, really gives you that instant recovery to any point in time. And so again, the need for file backup software, hardware targets, media servers, backup servers to push data around, that all goes away. And then DR is also built in because these edge VMs can be reconstituted, rehydrated, reprovisioned in less than 15 minutes in any safe location. So if an office goes down or if any edge VM goes down, you can spin up a new one either in an AWS region in EC2 or in a safe office somewhere else. And all it needs is a connection to S3 to rehydrate itself with the file system metadata. And your users can be browsing the file system within 15 minutes of losing any edge VM anywhere else. So the need to have standby DR sites, duplicate file infrastructure for DR, testing failover, testing the DR site, again, all gone. Again, leveraging the strength of AWS and Nasuni. And then the last thing that also is built into the system, and this is orchestrated by our Cloud Orchestration Center, which is also based on an AWS service. And this is why we've gotten so many design wins from AWS because of the use of AWS technology, is file synchronization. If any change is made, for example, in San Francisco on an edge VM in San Fran, it'll first commit that change to S3 object storage. And then our cloud orchestration service is smart enough to know that, hey, New York is caching a copy of the same file. Let's go make sure we update that New York edge VM with the latest copy of that file change just made in San Fran. So again, using high-speed internet links, again, all through secure AES encryption, we move the Delta changes around to all your locations so that every user is always working on the latest version of every file. And we also have a global file lock service that's also built on AWS cloud technology that ensures only one user at a time can edit files. So you're not going to have version conflict or people stomping on each other's changes if they do have access to the same file across multiple locations. So it truly is a global file system we're presenting through all these edge VMs. And it's all orchestrated at scale by AWS and our cloud orchestration service. And that's how we're able to handle customers the size of Decata at multiple petabytes without any challenge because of the elasticity of AWS on the back end. And then, of course, all this is managed through a single central console, a web-based interface, so you can control your entire file environment, file storage environment through just one console. So that's an overview of how Nasuni, really takes everything that's being done today: file servers, NAS, backup, DR, file synchronization, and really, collapses it all to one solution. It's just, Amazon S3 object storage on the back end and Nasuni on the front end. And so the reason why customers are coming to us is, it's less expensive than, buying and refreshing, all that on-prem hardware and doing it every 5 years. Typically, we see about a 40% savings relative to all that on-prem infrastructure. It's a lot simpler than racking and stacking, arrays and doing backups and managing media servers and rotating tapes and doing disk media and offsite and onsite copies and DR. All that's built in. So it's simpler for IT, it's lower cost, and it's better for the end users because they have unlimited access to shares now, and they can share files across any number of locations as if they were all working in the same place. So there's no limits to how much data you have, no limits to the volumes, share sizes, directories, snapshots. Again, because Nasuni's scaling within Amazon S3, which is limitless, there's no limits to your file storage either. You really truly have a global file system accessible from anywhere. Yet you have the performance that you're expecting, locally, that users and apps are used to. And so the first thing we often do now with customers is we say, well, let's look at how much you're going to save. Let's look at your total cost benefit. And so it's just a quick example of one that we do with a lot of, every customer wants to start here. Am I going to save money? Is it going to be easier for IT? And are my end users, are they going to be happier? And that's really what this we call an estimated business impact. That's what it shows. We'll do this very quickly. Just tell us what your alternative is. Are you looking at refreshing, a current environment? This is an example of a customer that had a 500 terabyte environment, half on NetApp, half on Windows file servers. Windows file servers with backup in the remote offices. NetApp with a primary and secondary cluster with SnapMirror snapshots between the two at two locations. and comparing, Nasuni with S3 on the back end to refreshing that environment over 5 years, we're looking at about a 200K hard cost savings, and then tremendous gains in IT efficiency because they don't have to manage all that stuff. And that's that 416 you see in the upper right corner. And then they were having challenges with ransomware, recovering files, it was taking too long, syncing files across locations taking too long. So a lot of idle time that they quantified over the course of 5 years, all those little numbers add up. And that's where you see that 2.4 million in total cost benefit that we've forecasted, made up of those 3 components. So we can do these very quickly for customers. We do these in about 20 minutes now. We've done so many. And this is often, the fastest way to find out, is this right for you? And are you going to see benefit? And is it going to be easy to sell internally? And is this transformation going to be easy to make happen? In almost all cases, the answer is yes. So I think, the last thing I'll talk about, Sean mentioned, again, machine learning and analytics and the power of AWS services. And that's the newest component we've added to our platform, is what we call the Analytics Connector. We've already talked about our UniFS file system, the Edge VMs, the Management Console, and Orchestration Center. The 5th component is our Analytics Connector. And what that does is it takes data from Amazon S3 that's in the UniFS format, because of course that's encrypted, it's deduped, compressed, and turned into objects. We have a new connector now that will turn that data into native S3. So you can take any subset of your data and say, I want to make this data available as an opaque S3 bucket, so that I can run Amazon Macy, Recognition, Kendra, other services against your unstructured data. Now, you couldn't do this before when you have your data separated across islands of NAS devices and Windows file servers. But now with all data consolidated in S3, you have that power now to really take advantage of analytics and extract business value from all this unstructured data that's been, distributed across all these islands in the past. And just one example, one of our customers is architecture and construction, and they built a massive image data lake, basically a big image library of all their job sites, and they could use Amazon Recognition to identify any job site without a hard hat visible in the image, because of course that's an OSHA violation not to have hard hats for the construction workers on site. So it's just a good example of the power of running analytics now on all this unstructured file data, something they couldn't do before, but they can now with Nasuni, backed by Amazon S3 and our Analytics Connector. So so that's really everything I had. I mean, what's the next step? Really, it's we love to take our customers through this estimated business impact as your first step. Understand the benefits that Nasuni and AWS can provide versus whatever alternative you're considering, whether it's refreshing an on-prem environment or looking at other transformational or cloud solutions. And we can do that apples to apples comparison and show you what the hard cost savings will be and what the efficiencies you'll gain from both an IT side and on the end user side. We also love to do technical whiteboards with our customers and draw out what a Nasuni AWS environment would look like, and you're looking at your infrastructure. And of course, we love showing demos of our Nasuni Management Console, because that really makes it hit home how much easier it is to use Nasuni versus managing 5 or 6 different consoles for, file sharing, file servers, NAS, backup, DR, replication, snapshots, all those other things. So, we encourage you to take those steps and go to either Nasuni.com, go to the AWS Marketplace, or you can hit me directly at trose@nasuni.com, and I can connect you with your AWS and Nasuni representative.